It's nice to see all the friends pop up.
Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to our second webinar in the AHRD series. I'm delighted to have you all here with us. Before we get into our webinar, I would just like to take a minute to acknowledge the loss of one of our AHRD colleagues, Dr. Yu, who unfortunately lost his life recently, as I'm sure many of you have heard. Many of you knew him personally and some of you professionally through his work for and with the Academy. Our condolences go to his family, his friends and his colleagues. In the chat here, we have included some information if you'd like to help and support his family at this time. There is a GoFundMe page set up. So our condolences to everyone who knew him and worked with him at this time. Now I'd like to introduce you to our webinar, The Human Edge in an AI-Powered World. Delighted to welcome you here on a topic that is both current, future-orientated, exciting, and very much relevant to the HRD learning and development community, whom are well positioned to lead the charge on AI and ensure the human is front and center. This is, as I said, our second webinar in the series, which will be housed on the AHRD YouTube channel, and we will be working to have them housed via the AHRD webpage. So in case anybody you know misses it, they can come back and listen there. I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Jeff Allen for this webinar. I'm very excited to hear what he has to say. Dr. Allen is a Regents Professor at the University of North Texas. He is a leading voice in organizational wisdom, evidence-based decision-making, and workforce transformation. He was the founding director of the Center for Knowledge Solutions. He works globally to advance knowledge sharing within organizations. He has a book, Fostering Wisdom, which offers strategies for thriving in today's dynamic workplace. Dr. Allen, thank you very much for delivering this webinar. I'm going to hand over to you, and hopefully along the way I learned something. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. I just want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for taking your time out of this week to be able to do this. I know it's a busy time for everyone. I'm a faculty member, so I'll always be long-winded a little bit, but I want to try to save some time at the end for discussions and thoughts and such as that as a community, sort of what we think about the topic and sort of some moves forward. What I want to do is really give you, I've given this talk a couple of times, one to the National Business Education Association and one to a private international company that's really at the cutting edge of AI, yet still working with a lot of the issues of what we do with AI and what we do with this new technology that we've never met before. So I want to take you through this. I want to give you a lot of things to think about and give you an idea of where we are with some of our thinking on this. I want to explain a couple of terms, and the first is technology pioneer. And this is a person who begins using or creating technology before it's common. They learn and unlearn through exploration, trial, and innovation. For me, I started off my life with the telephone. It looked very similar to this. This was my technology in the house. It was great. All of us could use it, but we had to wait for someone to use it at a single time. The next invention was a wall hanging. And if you were really, really lucky, it had about a 25-foot cord that you could walk around the corner and talk to girlfriends on. And you didn't have to sit right in the middle of the kitchen table and do that. For me, technology wasn't there when I grew up, or the technology that we know today. My first technology was an Apple IIe. This was a computer that my dad let me help him on his dissertation many years ago, do a chapter at a time because we really couldn't fit more than a chapter on a disk. And it was really a technology that moved away from typewriting into the technology world, and we could use a dot matrix printer to print that off. Today, technology looks a lot different for me. But again, I was a technology pioneer that we didn't have technology. Every day I walk around with my Apple Watch, my telephone, and my laptop, and I don't think anything about the technology. The technology has just simply become an everyday thing. On the other hand, we have technology natives. My kids are technology natives. My son, Jared, never knew life without a computer in his life. He actually never knew a 96 kiddo that never knew life without an internet. If you look carefully in the picture, you'll see my telephone and a 28.8 baud modem in the background. And this was really his life. This is the way that he grew up. A technology native is someone who's familiar with technology from an early age. They instinctually use it because they don't know life any other way. The technology today, my son would have never thought about virtual technology. For me, a viewfinder, many of you in the audience may recognize this. This was our virtual technology. This gave us an insight into the world, and we thought it was great. The kids today would look at it and go, really, what's this? And what's so special about it when you can go virtually in worlds? The technology native of the future, we simply don't know what that's going to look like. But the kids today are going to be AI natives. They've never known the world without AI in their lives. And this technology for them is nothing special. It'll be a tool for their life. Like I say, my kids in 96 and 98 have never known the world without technology. Kiddos born right now will never know the world without AI in the world. I want to give a little bit. Patricia says she can't see things on her screen. Patricia, I'll sort of look for a thumbs up for Ken's on the line. If Ken can see it, we'll sort of get a, okay, I see others saying that they can. So I want to take you back in history a little bit. Here's the 1400s. In the 1400s, technology hit. Before the 1400s, we had scribes. Scribes wrote books and they wrote a single copy. And for every time it happened, they had to rewrite those words again. Their world was immediately turned on its head with the Gutenberg printing press. This technology took the jobs of scribes away. It was a new technology. Nobody knew how it worked, but it changed the world. It really changed the world of scribes. If you skip into the US, in the 1700s, 90 to 95% of our US population engaged in farming. This was the technology at the time, a single plow, and to feed a family, it took the entire family to work on the fields. Technology happened. In the early 1900s, 40% of the population was engaged in farming, still feeding the US population. But it went from 95% to 40%. With the technology at the time, it fed the US population, but with a new technology. Again, we're looking at production capabilities. This farmall is what I learned to drive on. This was a 1950s invention, and in the 1950s, 20% of the US workforce was involved in agriculture. Again, 20% of the workforce engaged with tractors. First time we actually got technology past the mules and horses, and still we fed 100% of the population. Today, approximately 2% of the workforce is involved in agriculture. Again, this 2% with the technology of this time is feeding the US population in the world. But let me skip ahead a little bit. From the 1940s to the 1970s, we had typing pools. We had a workforce of people that were typing and transcribing information in our workforce. In 1975, And for those of you who were born during that time, you'd know. Here was a quote by the head of the research at Xerox. He predicted, over the next 20 years, I'll be able to call up documents from my files on my screen or by the press of a button. I can get my mail or any message. I don't know how much hard copy I'll want in this world. It'll change our daily lives, and this could be scary. The IBM 286, 386, 486, etc. came online. Probably the technology that he was talking about really didn't come until the 1990s, with the Macintosh technology coming online and really coming into the business setting where we could actually see a screen and move around on Windows. But again, think about 1975, the forward look, and what they didn't know about technology but were guessing. And think again how it changed the workforce and how it changed the technology of our offices. I want to take you to today. Here's protest from today. This is the Writers Guild. The Writers Guild's on strike. Why? Human writers only. To me, this really goes back to the scribes that we were talking about in the 1400s. Our scribes of the 1400s were talking about a technology that were going to change lives. The world as we knew it in the 1400s changed with the Gutenberg press. And in the same way, it's changing almost every technology that we see as we're talking about now. So I want to take this to my education friends and give you a little bit of background, because education sometimes feels to the outside of what we're talking about. Here were the headlines of 1976. This was from the Chronicle of Higher Education, which we read on a daily basis. Computer education, time to sink or swim. I was in the 3rd grade, I think, at the time. Here's 1981. Teachers must fight computers. Again, the technology came in to our educational systems so that teachers were looking at the technology that they needed to fight. To remind you of AI right now, you're in parallel. Here was in 1986. Math teachers protest the use of calculators. Yes, in our high school, we couldn't use calculators. My kids couldn't get through high school without a calculator when they went through high school. In 1994, I was a student, or 1990, I was a student at Penn State. In 1991, Dr. Kyle Peck, and you may know him as an instructional systems professor at Penn State, he sat in front of a set of teachers. There were about 200 teachers in the room, so you can imagine what they were listening to with the advent of the internet coming in, and really with technology coming into the classrooms in a real spiel at the time. Here's what he said, and you almost had to be there, but I want to give you the feeling. There are about 200 teachers in the audience. Dr. Peck is at the front of the room, and he makes this statement. Computers will replace teachers. And at that time, the entire room went silent. You couldn't hear a pin drop, and he let the silence go on. Because he made the statement that everybody was thinking, that computers would replace teachers. This was the biggest fear in everybody's mind at the time, that computers actually would replace teachers. They saw the technology that was coming in was going to take their job. Dr. Peck really didn't let them hang there. He said, no. Computers won't replace teachers. Computers will reposition teachers. What he was talking about was a world that technology would come in and it would change every teacher's lives. It would change the classroom. It would change the classroom experience. Here you can see a maker's lab with adults and teenagers with the computers and the technology. And what the teachers didn't imagine at the time is that if the teacher was still involved, that you needed that human person that could do what the technology couldn't. That the technology was a tool was a technology at the time, and it was a great leap in the technology at the time, but that one day it would become a part of what we were doing with teaching and training and everything else. We can see the parallels in our own industries. Here was in December of 2023. Will computers replace teachers of the future? Now, I told you a story of Dr. Kyle Peck in 1994. 30 years later, we have headlines that are still questioning the same thing. Will technology, in this place they said computers, will technology replace teachers of the future? In every industry, we have the same question. Will AI replace workers in the future? But still we have the same question. Here's from the Chronicle of Higher Education, same one that I showed you in 1980. Can the humanities survive AI? It's not an unusual argument, and it's not an unusual argument for where we are with technology of the day. AI is simply a different technology, and we'll talk about AI in general and where we fit. I absolutely believe that AI will reposition everyone. Will AI replace? No. I don't think it will replace in the same way that Dr. Peck meant in 1991. AI is going to come in, and AI is going to reposition how we do work. Will it save time? Will it save a lot of things? Yes, it certainly will. Will it make people change jobs and change positions to reposition? Absolutely. I think AI is going to do the same thing across all of our industries, just as technology in any other form, whether it be computer technology, email, Google, or any other technology, it did the same thing in our workforces. So I ask AI, what positions in the realm of human resource development, training development, knowledge management might be changed or replaced with AI? It took about 10 seconds and it started a list. I asked it for about 200. Now, I asked AI to do this work and it did it in about 15 seconds. Is it true? Is it false? It's just a quick search, but it gives you an idea just with AI what we're looking at when we start looking at industries that might be affected by AI. We really don't have a place where it's not going to. I want you to consider that today, everybody in this audience is an AI pioneer. It's okay. We didn't grow up with AI. What we do know is other technology implementations that have been there. And you're going to tell me, Jeff, AI came in like a storm and it's going to ramp up more than anything else did. And that may be true. I was sitting at a company this last month, and as they said, they don't know what's going to happen with AI and what's going to happen in the next 3 months, 6 months, or a year. I think what I would tell them is in 20 years, they were going to talk about AI in the same way that we've talked about every other implementation. What we hear about, though, is the AI revolution. And I don't disagree that people see the AI revolution. If I ask most of my students, and if we ask in most organizations when AI started, they're going to say it started somewhere after 2020 and before now, but their best guess would be around 2022. AI is not a revelation, or is not a revolution. It's an evolution. We've heard in some of the discussions of AI, we've heard of the Turing test. The Turing test was in 1950, and this was the ability of technology to exhibit human-like behavior or human-like intellect. The term artificial intelligence was established at Dartmouth in 1956. That's the first time that we used the term artificial intelligence. In the 1980s, early 90s, as I was going into my master's program, expert systems is something that we were exploring. We were looking at ways that we take and we house knowledge and we have access to knowledge. Where we are with expert systems today is what we look at as AI. In 1996, Deep Blue came on and beat world champion in chess. And it changed our lives. How dare a technology beat a human? It did, and it remains. There was an interview with the top chess master now and said, Joe Rogan asked, can you beat chess on your phone? And he said, no. He said, in certain circumstances, I can use a crazy strategy and beat it. But in general, it can still beat me at chess. In 2010, we launched Siri. And in 2020, ChatGPT-3 was released. We launched OpenAI's first ChatGPT in 2022. This is really, when we talk about revolution, this is really where people saw the very first implementation of AI, of what AI was, and started getting an idea of what it was. I was working with Fanuc, a robotics corporation, and they said that they've been using AI in some form for the last 15 years in their robots. AI is not new. I think that there are some things that we need to look at, though. If you look at 2024, and if you haven't looked at it, look at the AI Act. I think it's a really good perspective from a US-centric piece to look at and see what they've done. We haven't done something like that in the US, but it's something that we still have to work with. When we look at the future right now, health informatics, healthcare diagnosis is a really big area that we can look at with AI, automated vehicles, which you'll see, and some of our climate modeling. But I wanted to give you just a brief idea of AI as an evolution rather than as a revolution. For most people, they're seeing the evolution in the last 5 years or so. Stop and think, this is a technology that's been developing for a long time. It just sort of burst onto our scene in our corporations. It's not, and I'm not saying to ignore it, I'm saying that it's another technology that has a history behind it. So I want to give you a belief statement. I believe that artificial intelligence will drive the knowledge economy as oil drove the industrial economy. I think it's that important. But for our knowledge fields, I think it's going to drive what we do in a lot of different ways, and it's something that we can't ignore. It's something that we can't ignore from an HRD side because it involves humans and because it involves the knowledge management of humans. I personally believe, based on some things that I've done in the last 10 years or so, that human wisdom, excuse me, balanced with AI capabilities is a key to the workplace future. I don't think AI is the answer. I don't think ignoring AI is the answer. I do think that there are a lot of capabilities that humans have that AI certainly doesn't have. And I think there are a lot of things that humans do much better than AI does. So I want to say, and I say this all the time, I'm team human, and I think we all should be. I will recruit you to the team human side from the AI side. If you're going team AI, please listen to this. I want to recruit you to team human. In 2017, I changed from a human resource development department to an information science department with really a more of an emphasis in knowledge management. And within the field of information science, they have something that looks like the Maslow's hierarchy, but it starts with data at the bottom, and data builds to information. Information builds to knowledge, and knowledge builds to wisdom. And when people talk about that core model, they can easily explain what data is. They could easily explain what information was. They could explain what knowledge was, but they're on the very top set wisdom. From my background in training development, workforce education, teacher training, etc., I looked at it and said, I know how to teach knowledge. And I think everybody here understands how we teach and transfer knowledge, evaluate understanding, and have a general understanding of knowledge management. I wanted to know how we teach wisdom. And I really spent from 2017 until now studying wisdom. Now, if you look, AI came in 2022. I started this in about 2017 and published a book on wisdom in 2022, really coming out at the same time that we were talking about AI. But I want you to think about wisdom right for just a minute. And I want to give you some background because I think it's uniquely human and I don't think AI can do it. So I think this is, if we're going to put a corner in the field that AI can't touch, I think it's here. We could do a whole lecture on wisdom and we could do a whole thing on wisdom, but I want to give you the basics. Consider all of the knowledgeable people that you know in the world. And we know lots of them. Those experts that we know. And I want you to close your eyes and put them in your head and think about them for a minute. Now, of all those people that you have in your head, and we know a lot of them, how many of those people are wise? Now, you may say 5, a dozen, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3 may be very common. But these people are very special. I think wisdom is uniquely a human virtue. It combines compassion, intuition, knowledge, experience, sound judgment to really create a beneficial course of action for individual, community, and society. This isn't what AI does. This is what humans do. And in our own mind, these are the people that are wise in our lives. This is what they do. So I want to give you a basis of this as we talk about humans and AI. We developed a model of wisdom. We started off with knowledge and experience, and there are lots of things, and this describes a lot of people that we know. They're competent, they're receptive, they're learners, they're systematic thinkers. But there's something else. There's a deep understanding of self. There's belief systems, there's a self-growth, there's a mindfulness. But there's also an understanding of others. And we started developing virtues, traits of wise people. We can go into a long ways into wisdom, but I don't want to today. What we did was we really looked at these as 3 aspects or within a Venn diagram of what wisdom is. And they're contained in there. What we looked at, though, is we looked at 3 connectors. There are 3 connectors that probably over the last year I've heard talked about a lot more in industry and a lot more in education and a lot more in the things that we're doing in research. One was resilience. This is when we take our knowledge and lived experiences and we build resilience from our capacity to recover from situations. The wise people in our lives have a resilience that we admire. They've gone through things, they've gone through adversity, and they built a resilience to overcome change. Anytime we work with resilience, whether you're a runner, whether you do things on the side, whether your life brought you that resilience, resiliency is something that we build, and it depends on nobody else. It's our knowledge and experience, and it's our understanding of self. And it was a really big piece, but a nice connector. Adaptability. This is really a connector between knowledge and experience, knowledgeable people, and the wise, and that's adaptability and understanding of self, understanding of others, excuse me. Adaptability is the ability to agilely adjust to new circumstances. Think about our industries right now. This is one of the most needed things that companies are looking at, is the need for adaptability, to build a resilience to what's happening in our industries right now, and an adaptability to change. This adaptability is part of what we've built with wisdom, that we have a knowledge and experience and our understanding of the way things work. We build a lot of this in our own lives. And the third connector is literally connection. If you've done work in emotional intelligence, you're going to find a lot of these things familiar to us. Biggest thing that I look at is our relationship that we build with people, our conversations and how we work with people. But another really big connection that we build. All of these things are something that we build throughout our lives, whether it's the knowledgeable or the wise. But I think these are three really important connections as we look at the next 10 years of what our educational institutions and industries are going through. So I want you to think a little bit differently for a minute. I think this is it's a different technology. Knowledge-based roles are feeling the impact of AI earlier than any of the manual jobs. I gave you a lot of examples from history, farming, where technology automated at the manual production level. The normal automation curve is reversed. This technology is coming in at the top of the knowledge levels, and cognitive roles are being impacted before any of the physical ones. I've worked with the ironworkers for the last 30 years. They know AI is there. It's not impacting them, and I don't see it impacting them for many years. Why knowledge work? Digitally native tasks are easier to automate. Machine learning is ideal for high volume data and tasks. The things that we do in knowledge work, that explicit knowledge that we have is easy to automate within AI. And that's the reason that we're feeling this revolution of AI, is it's hitting our industries more than it's hitting many others. Labor remains hard to replicate. Physical context, dexterity, variability are still challenging for AI. When you look at robotics, they're still working things away from the table or away from kind environments into what I'll talk about here in a minute in wicked environments. AI is just having a harder time with it. Why are we feeling the pinch? It's hitting knowledge roles first. So David Epstein talks about kind and wicked environments, and if you don't know it, I'll review it for just a second. A kind environment is a structured, it's predictable environment. Chess, when we talk about it, has rules. Everything that you do has immediate feedback, and you know exactly how things work. As opposed to a wicked environment where you operate in ambiguity. Information's hidden, it's unreliable. Right now, we are in a wicked environment of technology that changes every day. We don't know the answer. However, that adversity, that resilience that we build is something that we need to value. There's value in resilience, and there's value in building adaptability to what we're doing. So let me give you a model. This is a conceptual model that we came with, and I'll share you the references here at the end. This is a cooperative intelligence model, and cooperative intelligence is a term that's been used for a little bit, but I think it's really helpful for us when we talk about the AI world. When we look at kind environments, those that are structured and predictable, humans are very capable of working very well without AI. We don't need AI. We work very well in that. The strange thing about it, in a comfortable or a kind environment, AI is perfectly capable. AI works really well within a rule set, within a predictable set of feedback. However, neither humans nor AI are completely successful alone in wicked environments. We need to process lots of data. We need to process lots of scenarios. The ability to process high levels of data in AI is something that's remarkable, and something that I know I'm not capable alone as a human. Do we need humans for a lot of things? Absolutely, and I'll talk about how we can do some of these. So let me talk about workforce of the future, and I'll come back to our cooperative intelligence model. In education, we're using it to create lesson plans. My students are using it for AI. I have AI usage rules in my classrooms. I want my students using the technology. I'm not afraid of it. Are there going to be problems as we go along? Absolutely, we're pioneers. there's going to be problems. I can wait. I'm not a settler, but I can wait later for some things to happen. In human resources, life cycle management, we have lots of things that we can do here. But again, I'm going to talk about humans in a minute. In marketing, marketing people are not expected to be skilled content creators, but content editors, because AI can do a lot of these skills. It's changing the entire market. Within healthcare, I'm going to give you a quick story here. Everybody's seen this. I had my annual visit. Here's my medical panel. At the bottom of my medical panel, it gives me a panel that looks like this, and we're all very used to these things. I got a call from the doctor, and here's what they said. The doctor says, work on modifying your diet and increasing your exercise level. I said, no, they didn't. I said, the doctor knows I exercise every day and they know my lifestyle. They said, well, no, that's what they said. And I said, anything else? They said, nope, that's it. So I went to AI. AI ran me a cholesterol piece, gave me all my ranges, gave me comments, gave me results, gave me the reference ranges. In addition, it gave me a complete risk analysis. It also said follow-up recommendations. It looked at what I gave it with my lifestyle and adjusted for lifestyle. It gave me risk factors. And it gave me summary statements. Is it a doctor? Absolutely not. But in this case, did it give me more than my doctor's office did? Absolutely. The doctor said more exercise and eat better. It didn't account into a lot of other things. In healthcare, this is another advantage that we have. Let me talk about employability skills for just a second. In 2009, so we're back a little ways. Partnership for 21st Century said there are 4 critical skills, and I'm going to argue that they're the same now. Critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. Let's look at how these work. Human role in critical thinking. Interpret complex data using ethical judgment, clean the data, contextual interpretation. AI, large processing of information. But we also have an overlap. AI excels in data processing, pattern recognition. However, we need human judgment and contextual analysis. Communication. Here's a note that I got from one of my students. Do you know of any software type of microphone that I can use when presenting that I can translate into different languages? And there are lots of them. However, I missed one. However, with this, there are new headphones that are AI-driven headphones that will automatically translate. For my next trip to Brazil, I plan on taking headphones with me that I can have automated translation. Fantastic technology and a fantastic way to use AI. Collaboration. Our platforms for project management are wonderful. If you haven't used Notation, a wonderful new technology that will help us out a lot. And creativity. Creativity. Absolutely, we have to have original creation from humans, but there is a role of AI. We can assist. We can use it as a co-editor, and there's lots of overlap. What I want to give you here isn't what AI can and can't do. What I want you to think about, as my son Tristan is an artist, that AI is going to be another tool. Look at what humans do really well and look at what AI does really well. And look at how we can use both. But stay with me on the team human side. AI is not going to do a lot of things that humans can do. So how do we navigate? Adversity is good. It's okay to have adversity. When we talk about wisdom, adversity and overcoming adversity is a big piece that we really need to think about as a good thing. Adversity is unavoidable. Within our workforce, we have to know that adversity is unavoidable. It's something that we can learn from. It's not chaos. Adversity is just that. We have to make sense of the chaos and move forward. We can learn from adversity. The response to adversity is within our control. What do we do now and what do we do next? Excuse me, guys. And then clarify your mission, reset and prepare for the next. It's okay. One lane isn't available to us, another one is. Resiliency. This is talked about a lot right now. Resiliency isn't toughing it out. It's not toughness alone. Recover. If you're going along the trail and you're hiking and you're tired, rest. Recover. Grow from there. We bounce back and grow. Resiliency is growth. Build resiliency with small wins. We're not going to win everything and we're not going to win everything. Build the resiliency, build your wins, and every day think about what can I win today? And adaptability. Be able to adjust to new circumstances. Adaptability is our key to self-resilience and growth. We have to adapt. We have a new technology. It's akin to magic, an old quote. Adaptability isn't waiting for the perfect plan. Think about exploring new territory. You don't know what's over the bend. We'll approach it, see what the problem is, and figure out a way around it. It's not going to be a perfect plan, but it's going to be a plan for our next step. This is going to require empathy. Things are going to fail. We have to listen to diverse views. We have to be prepared to unlearn. Don't be afraid of it. It's okay to be wrong. What we don't know is a lot. Don't be afraid to unlearn what's already there. Don't be afraid to unlearn the technology pieces. Thank you. Don't be afraid of taking the models that you have and throwing them completely out and looking at them anew. I don't think that all of our models are going to work. So let me close with this. Use principles when the playbooks are missing. I've talked about technology implementation and what technology looks like in our past history. Don't think of AI in the last 2 or 3 years. Think of AI of the last 75 years. It's a new technology implementation that we're just seeing now. We don't know, we don't have a map. We have to sense with curiosity. Listen. Listen to all of the players. Everybody's going to come at this a little bit different. We're all exploring new territory. Look at abstract reasoning. Some of our reasoning simply doesn't work. We just don't know what's around the corner. Not good judgment, not bad judgment, but sound judgment. We're going to make mistakes. Be ready for the mistakes. Be resilient from those mistakes. Also look at ethics. Keep ethics in mind and keep it in the forefront. This is a human piece that AI can't do. Plan. Look at the system. Don't look at the problem. Look at the system as a whole. Learn with reflection. Have empathy. You're a pioneer. You're sitting in this workshop because you're looking at a field that other people are afraid of right now. I'm going to say that everybody in this webinar is looking at this from the human side. Be team human on this, but also have a sympathy that people don't know this and people are afraid of it. The uncertainty is real. Take a pioneer's mindset. Be on the cutting or come with me to the bleeding edge. It's okay. The bleeding edge is a nice place to live, but you're going to take some hard knocks from it. But as a pioneer, you're out front. Don't be a settler. Don't wait. Use AI in your classroom. Use AI in your organizations. There's going to be failures. It's okay. That's adversity, and our resiliency comes from that. I'll say be willing to learn and unlearn. And I don't know of many people that explore without a party. Have a team of people. Have a team of bright minds that aren't afraid of failure. Have a team of people that are willing to go out there with you and be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. We haven't lost the maps. They're just out of date. We have to work with new ones. Evolve the maps, explore new horizons. It's where we are. We don't know what's going to happen in 6 months or a year, but I promise you in 20 years, Ken and I will be back in this same place talking about AI happening 20 years ago and how it's a normal thing today. I posted this about a week ago. We're born in a perfect time of history to be able to contemplate the differences between humans and technology to better both our organizations and society. There's a difference. Human intelligence is gold standard. AI is artificial intelligence. It's taking what we know of explicit knowledge, but there is also implicit knowledge and those things that we have in intuition and other things in humans that it can never take with. Here are a few things that we've written here in the last couple of years on AI. Most of what I've talked about in this presentation is contained in detail in these, and we'll put a link up on the chat as we go for that. And I wouldn't be an author without hawking a book. So this is really comes from my work moving from AHRD to information science and knowledge management, and really investigating the question of how do we teach wisdom? Not what it is, but how to teach it. So I'll leave that there and say thank you so much for listening. What I'd like to do, we have about 12 minutes left. I'm going to stop my share. I didn't want to go the whole time, and I certainly, and that's not the point. I took this time to just give you ideas and to give you some things that we're thinking about right now. This takes a team. We have a huge team here in the room. So what I'd like to do is open it up, not necessarily for questions, though I'll take questions, but also for your thoughts and where you think we may be. So I'll open it up from there. Thanks, Claire. Patricia, please. You're on mute.
Thank you, Jeff, for a really great presentation, and it's very thoughtful. I'm very interested, as some of you may know, in self-managed learning and the skills related to that. People seem so far behind. Maybe we're using technology, but people are so far behind in taking the responsibility for the learning process and the self and the coevolution, coevolution that needs to go on as AI develops. I believe we need to develop ourselves, and we can't wait for somebody to teach us in a classroom or, even in a book in some ways. There are some basic skills here. So where do you see, or how critical do you think the issue is of the difference between people's current learning skills and mindsets and what you're just talking about now? And how do we close the gap?
I don't know that there's going to be a change. I think that there are going to be different tools. And you just go back to the calculator offered us a tool to do math. We still needed the critical thinking of math. The problems that we're teaching in math, the problems that we are teaching in high schools right now, are something that I learned in the junior year of college. I think AI does the same thing. My students are thinking better by having more tools that they can use, but there's some ethics in using them. I don't want it to create for me, but I may use it to help me edit. Everybody that's a writer has used copy editors. And copy editors do a wonderful job for us. We do lots of research that we can optimize doing the research with AI that we can look at, but we need that human piece of it. It's a tool that we can use, but not a tool that we can replace thinking with. So I think the challenge in thinking is always going to be there. I think we just have a new tool that we don't know how to use yet. Does that help?
Well, I think maybe you're taking it a little different direction. I'm just talking
Okay.
about uh, the human approach to learning and working with AI. You know, we have created a lot of very dependent kind of learners, let's say.
Right.
And what do we do to help people become more independent so that they manage their own co-evolution with these AI tools? That's what I'm interested in, is how do we help human beings evolve themselves to a point where they're able to and have the tools for evolving with AI. You know, it's a,
I think it's just going to take a couple of years to be able to evolve them. The same
well,
when Google
a
came.
lot of people don't even have learning skills for the old world.
That's, you and I will say that's a whole different issue. Yes, I think that there are learning skills that we all have to go back on. But I think from an AI perspective, it's the same as we did with Google or Wikipedia, that when we had to teach where it is and what it's not. So I don't disagree with you on the skills of learning. I think it's just happening at a much more rapid pace.
Mm-hmm.
Wafa?
You guys see me,
Yes.
hear me? Um, like listening to her questions, it's just me putting my input here more so than
Please.
questions. So for me, like now I'm really glad that we have AI, because I'm one of the people that thought that if you're writing 50 pages, then you're great in thinking. But in reality, it's not always the case. So even if some people are really good at writing, but sometimes their critical thinking is not that good. So with AI, everyone can have 100 pages that they can claim that they wrote, but now we can actually, like when we talk to that individual, we can actually see and understand their critical thinking more. I don't know if you're getting my point, but AI actually doesn't makes me afraid of I guess I lost my train of thought, but I guess what I'm trying to say that it is I totally agree with with using it as a tool to getting things done, but I lost my idea. But
No, and I'll go back. When I was a student with Dave Passmore at Penn State, there was only a certain place that I could go in my thinking because I didn't have access to everything.
yes,
I ask my students today much more difficult questions, much more complicated and complex pieces. And I think we'll continue to push that, and I hope we do.
exactly. And back in the day, you might spend hours, like thousands of hours, to get dissertation done. When you're honing a skill, when you don't actually need it now, when you can actually further your knowledge, building and knowledge even way better with AI. So
I would
good
hope it
stuff.
helps. Others? Comments or questions, either one, it doesn't matter. This is really an open discussion. This is the professor pause to let people think and ask questions.
Yeah.
This is Gary,
Hey, Gary.
and I'm just reflecting back on Patricia's question.
Yeah.
I live in a building of 55 and overs. I turn
Congratulations.
83 next week. And I just did a 2-hour presentation on AI. And people say, how do you learn all this stuff? You're old. You're not supposed to be learning anymore. I don't know where it came, but it came. I have throughout my life had this curiosity that drives me to look for new knowledge. And now I've got AI to help me. And I don't know that anyone did anything. Maybe it's just inherent, Pat.
No, Gary, I don't think it is. This is when we talk about the world of wisdom, and I delve deeply into this world. When you look at wisdom, wisdom actually starts dropping off in wisdom science at about age 40. And we get comfortable with what we know in the world, and we stop learning and we stop investigating and we stop pushing boundaries because our life and our world is comfortable or more comfortable. We've overcome the adversity that we wanted to at the time. And we sort of go, okay, now I can rest nice and easy. Gary, I know you. You have never rested easy on what you know. And the wise, when you look at them, when you go back to that question of who in your life do you consider wise? Those people don't sit with the learning that they have now. They're going out and say there's more. Sail on those deep seas, sail in the rough water, live on the bleeding edge, and be willing to be wrong. I know why at 83 you're learning this right now, because you can't help it. It's what you do.
But isn't his comment about the fundamental role of curiosity? If you're a curious person and you carry that gift and that commitment with you into your life, that opens all of these doors.
Absolutely.
I've got a young grandson who's 17, and he's one of the most curious people. You just put out a question and off he goes. He's going to be like Gary at 83 for sure. Just, learning up a storm. And if we could help people just see the wonderful gift it is to be curious and how the world opens up, this is probably a key solution to a lot of our problems.
The other interesting piece from the wisdom research is there is no correlation. Now we're in stats, we'll argue with that. There's no correlation between age and wisdom. Mm-hmm. The idea that a street urchin can be more wise than my sons who grew up in a nice household without adversity is certainly there. And I think that curiosity and that piece and that overcoming of adversity and not being afraid of it is a really big key piece to that piece of wisdom. And again, I'll go back to wisdom is a human virtue. It's not something that's going to be accomplished through a technology.
Is there not something about having learned that it's okay to be wrong?
Absolutely. And that's where that adversity and resilience comes. You have to have adversity in your life. If you never had adversity, you never fail. If you never fail, you never learn. Absolutely.
And our schools don't do a very good job with that.
Some don't. I agree.
They want you to be right all the time.
It's funny when I interview executives about their biggest learning experiences, I would say 95% of the time it's failures. What they would call failures.
So I want to be nice to our host, and it looks like it's coming right at 1 o'clock. So Claire, I'll turn this back over to you.
Jeff, thank you very much for a fascinating talk and a story. Your storytelling, the way you brought us from there to here, I think is fantastic. So I've learned two things from you. I've learned about AI as well as the nature of the storytelling that you use to show us how we are here. And indeed, based on some narratives that are around that, I was attending another conference this year that suggests that AI will replace us and we're defunct, etc. And when you hear it through your eyes, it's not that not that damning. So thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you to everyone for joining us on this webinar. We will have more, so stay engaged with the AHRD webinar series. Thanks to everybody for jumping in to make comments and ask questions. It's not necessarily easy to do that. So signing off, and until next time. Thank you again, Jeff.
Open apps panel closed.
Thank you, everybody.
Lee.
Thank you, Claire. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Jeff. Talk to you
All right,
soon.
bye-bye.